Hello YouTube, welcome to AirSoftLounge. I am the Gabenator and I will be your host today as I attempt to guide you through some of the Airsoft related questions that you may have. A quick disclaimer, I am neither a lawyer nor am I a police officer and I cannot give you legal advice. So it's kind of up to you to look into the laws in your own area to determine what you think you should do and determine what the law says you should do. Alright, so with that out of the way, we're gonna kind of attempt to cover some base with this. So there are basically two types of model weaponry. There are toy guns like this. This is a toy gun. And then there are real firearms. I don't have a real firearm here to show you, obviously. But there are toy guns and then there are firearms. So there's kind of a spectrum here. And then Airsoft kind of falls somewhere in the middle because it's not really classified as a firearm, but it's also not classified as a toy either. It's not classified as a firearm because in order for it to be a firearm, it has to expel projectiles by way of a controlled explosion, which airsoft guns do not do. However, it's not classified as a toy either because it does expel projectiles. So there are some laws that govern firearms, which is like real guns, and then there are laws that govern toys, but none of these laws ever really expressly mention airsoft guns. There are actually even some laws that actually specifically govern air guns that are used for hunting, but these air guns used for hunting don't actually really mean airsoft guns because what you use in a game of airsoft, that's called an airsoft gun, and that airsoft gun cannot be used for hunting. At least it shouldn't be used for hunting. And if you want to know why, then you should definitely check out my written work at AirSoftLounge.com. But let's get into the laws just a little more. What are the various levels of law? Are there even levels at all? Yes, there are levels of law. There's three of them, actually. There's federal, state, and then local, also called municipal level, but local is easier to say, so I'm just gonna stick with that. Just a quick word in here. I'm going to cover these in very general, very broad terms, and I'm really not going to spend too much time on any of them. But if you want to have a more specific look into each one of them, including citations and very formal, cool stuff, then also be sure to check out AirSoftLounge.com because I've got that there as well. So first off, we have federal level. This is the highest level of United States law, and there are two main sources that are really relevant that you can find in federal law. So the first is actually called United States Code or U.S. Code. This U.S. Code is actually a collection of 50 titles collected by the Congress. According to U.S. Code, toy and imitation guns, quote, shall have a blaze orange tip on the end of the barrel, end quote. The main reason for this law is to immediately and readily distinguish an airsoft gun or a toy gun from a real firearm, because a real firearm doesn't have an orange tip on it, and an airsoft gun does. As you can see right here, this is an airsoft gun, and it's fairly easy to tell that it is fake because of the orange tip. However, this law appears to really only apply to manufacturers and importers rather than the actual consumers. The second, and actually fairly similar reference, appears in the Code of Federal Regulations. These are rules, also gathered into 50 titles, that were published by the National Archives and Records Administration. This also calls for a blaze orange solid plug permanently affixed to the toy or imitation gun. By the way, blaze orange, also referred to as safety orange, refers to a very specific hue of orange. It's coded as number 12199, so it is an actual specific real color. Besides airsoft tips, it can be used on caution cones, hunter hats, as well as other places. So a couple of points here. I emailed a number of congressional officials and I got several answers back. Firstly, that these laws don't specifically pertain to consumers. They're more geared towards the manufacturers and the importers. In this way, these laws are actually fairly similar to like a mattress tag, where it says do not remove this tag, but it's not talking to you. Like, if you've bought the mattress, you can feel free to remove the tag if you really want to. The tag is not supposed to be removed by the producer or by the store owner. It can be removed by you, though. Secondly, I was also told that these laws do not clearly specifically pertain to airsoft guns. There are exemptions for BB guns, and not all airsoft guns are manufactured to look like imitation firearms. It seems, though, that many manufacturers will put an orange tip on their airsoft gun just to be safe, so that they can avoid any legal battles that they might get into simply because they didn't put the orange tip on there. They don't necessarily have to be strictly required to do it, they just do it anyway because, you want to be safe, right? So, the second level is state level. At this level, things can go a couple of different ways. Now, it is important to note that state law cannot be more lenient than federal law. If a federal law says you must have an orange tip on your airsoft gun, then a state law could not say you don't need an orange tip on your airsoft gun. Conversely, a federal law could say you don't need an orange tip, and then a state law could say yes, you do. That's perfectly fine. So a state law cannot be more lenient. It cannot be more accepting of anything. It can be more restrictive. It just can't be more lenient. So anyway, back to states. Some states, such as Arkansas and New York, have simply reiterated exactly what the federal laws say. They basically just say, whatever the federal law says, that's what we say too. Other states, such as California, are actually more restrictive, and they say that your gun has to be completely transparent or completely bright orange or something like that if it's going to be brandished in public, or just in general, that's how it should be. Finally, some states such as Wyoming say absolutely nothing about this topic whatsoever. And this can kind of pose a problem for some because there are two opposing views on what saying absolutely nothing might mean. On the one hand, some people might say, well, they don't say you need to have an orange tip, so I guess we don't need to have an orange tip. On the other hand, some people would say, they don't say you're allowed to not have one, therefore you must have one. So the last level, local or municipal. There can actually be fairly large amounts of variation here. You'll probably have to check with court clerks, council persons, or law enforcement in your area just to make sure that you've got all the little legal stuffs worked out. Sometimes some towns or municipal areas might just outright forbid airsoft to be played in public. It may allow airsoft to be played on private property, on private fields, etc., but it may forbid airsoft to be played in public parks or something like that. A town may even restrict how an airsoft gun may be transported. Now, I have never really learned about any towns actually doing this, but if you live in an area that restricts transportation of airsoft guns like this, then feel free to comment in the comment section down below, because I would be quite interested to hear about that. So at the end of the day, according to most jurisdictions, it seems like airsoft guns need to have an orange tip, affixed by the manufacturers. But none of the laws actually say that you, once you've purchased the airsoft gun, cannot take the orange tip off. No laws really state that you need to have an orange tip once you own the gun. Now, you need to realize, though, that if you remove or deface the orange tip, then it will be harder to distinguish your airsoft gun from a real gun. And if you were to brandish it in public without the orange tip, then an armed citizen or law enforcement will see the gun, and then they might be forced to make a split-second life or death decision, because they won't know that that's an airsoft gun, and so they might shoot you because they think you're a threat. So, although removing the orange tip might make the airsoft gun look more realistic or more cool or whatever, I don't think I would ever recommend that at all. To be totally honest, I would just keep the orange tip on there. Or at least if you're going to remove the orange tip, do not brandish it in public ever. Just don't have it be anywhere other than like in a case if you're going to carry it out in public. Like if you have to carry it from a field to your house, or to your house, from your house to an airsoft field or something like that. But other than that, just don't brandish it in public, even if it does have an orange tip, because someone might mistake it or not see the orange tip, something like that. So again, my recommendation would be don't remove the orange tip at all, because, you know, or if you do, at least realize the amount of danger that you are really putting yourself in. But again, for all we know, it might even be illegal in your specific area. A local law or even a state law could say that you need to have an orange tip on your gun at all times, in which case then, you know, you don't even have to worry about whether or not it's safe to remove it, because it is illegal to do so anyway. And please remember that this video is completely for entertainment and informational purposes only. I assume no liability for your actions, legal or illegal. At the end of the day, you are the one who is solely responsible for your actions. But on that happy note, I hope that this video was helpful to you and was informative and entertaining. If it was, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button, and feel free to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell if you really enjoyed it and want to see more content like this, because I'm definitely open to making tons more videos on a ton more airsoft related topics. This is an airsoft channel after all. And yeah, make sure that you check back with this channel frequently, because my aim is to post videos like 3 or 4 times a week, maybe more than that, maybe fewer if time doesn't permit. With all that being said, I hope you all have a great day, happy and safe airsofting. Goodbye.